As we start chapter 3, especially since we have some remote learners, I'm going to be flipping a lot of the lessons. And you'll need a compass when you work in class, and also you'll need a compass at home, but make sure you have your compass in class. So by the end of the video today, you should be able to copy segments, add and subtract segments, copy angles, and add and subtract angles. And the only tool you can use is a straight edge and a protractor. So I'm going to go through some steps, and then you can come back tomorrow in class and ask questions, and then you'll have a place to practice. And then I will also post this worksheet for you to follow along with. So if you look at this lesson 3.1, duplicating segments and angles worksheet, this is an exercise that you use with a compass. And so this is my electronic compass. It looks different than what you have, but it works the same. And so I'm going to just tell you that probably the best way to understand what's going on is just watch me do some of these steps and then come back and practice tomorrow. And so I'm going to start with number 1. And in the book, what you'll see is oftentimes you will see an angle in the book, and the angle will have either, well, it won't have any marking on it. So, oh, that won't, there we go. So like this won't be there. Let me say that again. In the book, when you work in the book, because they don't want you to draw on it, they put a little mark there for you, and you're supposed to measure how big the opening is. But on a worksheet, you won't see that mark. And so that's going to be a little confusing at first, so you just are going to kind of watch me go through these directions, and I think then when you come back to class, it'll be easier to understand what's going on. So we're going to look at exercise 1, and it says using only a compass. And so I'm going to do my work in this purple and a straight edge. So a straight edge could be like a ruler, but you're not supposed to use the measurements. You're just supposed to use the straight line part of it. Like just as a straight line. So you're going to use only a compass and a straight edge. So that means just the tools you see here. You're going to duplicate each segment and angle. And it says there is an arc at each angle to help you, which means you're going to use that arc. And that's what I was talking about. So to do problem 1, the first thing you should do is take your straight edge and just make a nice long straight line with the pencil. And then you're going to duplicate each segment. So I'm going to just duplicate P, starting right here. And I'm going to just label my point P. And don't label big points. So I'm doing that so you can see it, but you want to keep your pencil butt as thin as possible. And so if I'm going to duplicate segment PQ, I have to take my compass and I put my pin on P. And then I open my compass up to Q. And one thing about this digital compass is it's a little hard to get exactly in the right place because sometimes the pixels aren't perfect. So like, it takes me a couple of tries sometimes just to get it perfect. Whereas with the regular compass, you're going to have a little more accuracy. So what I've done is I took my compass and I made this opening, and I'm not going to change the opening. I can move my compass with keeping the opening, and then I'm going to just put the pin here, and I'm going to move my straight edge out of the way, And then I'm gonna make an arc. Let's change the pen color. Just make an arc. And that is where Q would be. So I just duplicated PQ. So from P to Q here, I'm going to use little tick marks. That means they're the copy. That's the exact same length as PQ up here. And so that's super easy. That's all you do to duplicate. So if I wanted to duplicate RS, then I would just draw a new line and repeat the process. In fact, I could do it, it doesn't have to be horizontal. You know, I could do it over here. So if I wanted to duplicate RS, I could make R here and duplicate RS on that spot. And so what you're going to find when you do compasses, you do kind of work all over your paper. So I'm going to make my compass the opening of RS. That's how, and again, I have a little problem with the pixels being just perfect on the smartboard. But that's the length of RS. So now I'm going to move my compass over here and put it on my point R and swing a nice big arc. And this is where my S is. So just put a little dot and I put the letter S. And I've duplicated RS. So RS is over here. Since a copy, we use the little tick marks. And then PQ is duplicated down here. So if I wanted to do duplicating an angle, because it also said duplicate each segment and each angle, you're going to do the same thing. In the beginning, you're going to start with a segment. So I'm going to just make a nice straight line. And I really want to emphasize trying to use the thin line. So I erase that to get a little thinner. So now I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to duplicate angle A down here, so I'm going to call it A prime. So to copy an angle, to spin my compass around so I can pick it up, I'm going to put my compass here and on letter A. And what you normally do if this is a worksheet is you would have to create that arc. Anywhere, any size you want. But since this is the arc is already drawn in for you, just open up your compass to that width, and then your pin should be on A. And then just to show you, if that black line arc wasn't there, you would create an arc like that. Let's make that a little bit darker. So you create an arc, okay? And you take so you don't change your setting, you just move your compass over to A, and you're going to make the same size arc right there. Now you bring your compass back, and you have to now measure how wide the arc is. So I'm going to switch colors so you can see that I'm doing something different. So now, what I always tell people is every time you make a new intersection point, like here's an intersection point, you'll be using it. Otherwise, you wouldn't create intersection points. So I need to use that intersection point, and I have to see how far it is to this intersection point. So I take my compass, and I put my pin on the intersection point, and then I'm going to close my compass until I can get it to hit the other intersection point. So that's the problem with the smartboard. Sometimes I need to lock these pieces down. yours won't move because your lead doesn't move. So I've like measured the the opening, and now I'm off a little bit. And again, that's just kind of the pixels on this, not quite perfect. So what I want to try to do is make that width. So now this is how wide angle A is on that purple arc. So I'm going to come over here and put my pin on my intersection point right here. Like for example, if I called this like X, this would be X prime, the corresponding point. So I'm going to put my pin, and remember I have my pin on X to begin with, and then I swung that arc here. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my pin on X, and I'm going to swing that arc. And so if this was Y, this is Y prime. Okay? And now you take your straight edge tool for the digital board. It can be challenging, and you line your straight edge tool up so you can copy angle A. And so I should be going through Y prime. Whoops. Let's try that again. So there's angle A. So I've copied angle A using a compass. So that's the basics. Those are the 2 skills you need for class tomorrow. I'm going to post this worksheet, and you could try this at home tonight. I think that would be really helpful if you just tried that number 1 at home tonight.